Welcome to Living the Empowered Life. My name is Yvonne, and this channel is all about bringing you content that's empowering, encouraging and inspiring. If this is the type of content you need in your life, then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new uploads. And if you like the content that I share, please hit the thumbs up button. So before I get into anything, I want to wish you a happy new year. I hope and pray that 2021 will be an amazing year for you, that you'll be able to do all the things you need to do to start living the empowered life, and that all the things that you're trying to do will be successful, and that you will have a progressive and productive year. In today's video, I want to share with you 5 things I'm leaving behind in 2020. So this is made up of a mixture of different things that I personally am leaving behind in last year, because if we're being honest, last year was a bit of a brutal one. I can look back and say, okay, I did some productive and progressive things, had some success in doing certain things, but with the backdrop of the coronavirus and personal freedoms being restricted and everything else, it was a really tough year. And I don't want to bring this list of things that I'm about to share with you into 2021. I've been able to look on the things on this list and see why they came about in 2020, and I know what I need to do to rectify them going forward into 2021. So the first thing I'm leaving behind in 2020 is fear. Now, I was quite courageous in 2020. I did lots of new things. I launched a podcast. If you haven't checked out my podcast, I will leave the link to a snippet of the last episode at the top of this one. But I launched a podcast, I launched an online course, I hosted my first virtual webinar. I did lots of positive and productive things that required me to have courage. But in the backdrop of that, I did feel quite fearful. And it wasn't fear in doing the things that I set out to do, it was fear of external circumstances. So for those of you who don't know, I'm self-employed. I felt a bit fearful about what was going to happen with my business. I felt fear because of all the things that were going on in the news. And I was allowing that external fear that was things that I couldn't do anything about, to affect me internally. And how that was showing up in my life is that I was becoming anxious about things. I became quite stuck at times, emotionally stuck, and it was really, really hard. And the thing is, I can't do nothing about what is going on outside in the world. Obviously, the only thing I can do is to do the things that I can to move forward. And that is what I should have been, looking on, instead of looking at all the things that I couldn't control. God has said in His word that He's not given me the spirit of fear, but the spirit of peace and of sound mind. So what I'm going to do is to tap into that by praying more, by giving my burdens and anxieties to God more, because, that's what He says, to cast our cares and anxieties on Him. So that is what I'm going to do going forward, rather than focusing on the fear of this world. And one of the things I found actually that did help me not to focus on this external fear that has been fanned by the media and by the news, is to cut the amount of time I spend watching the news, cut the amount of time on social media as well, because what I found is, obviously, there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of fear that people voice on social media, so I've just cut and limited that right down, because I don't want to bring that into 2021. The next thing I want to share with you that I'm leaving behind in 2020 is focusing on all the wrong things. This again has come from fear, focusing on my circumstances, focusing on my situation, focusing on, whether I'm going to have enough contracts or not, focusing on whether I'm going to have enough money or not. All these things I spent too much time focusing on last year. And, God was saying to me to take my eye off the storm. Take my eyes off the storm and focus on Him. Focus on going forward. Do the things that I can do and keep focused on Him. But what I was doing, and I'll share kind of a picture with you, is that I was swimming towards my target. And I was focusing on my target, but every so often I would be distracted by things around me, and then I would start flapping about in the water like I was drowning. So that's what I was like at times last year. I was like a drowning person, because I kept not focusing on God, but focusing on the issues that were going on around me, what's going on in the world, what's going on in my business, what's going on in my finances. And mentally, that really didn't help me. So going forward, I'm not going to be like that person flapping around like I'm drowning when I keep taking my eye off God or keep taking my eye off the things I'm supposed to be doing. This year, I'm just being really mindful of the things that I'm focusing on, really mindful of the things that I'm allowing to go into my mind, because circumstances are still the same. Over here in London, in the UK, we're on full lockdown again. And we were on full lockdown last year from March. So even though circumstances are the same as last year at the moment, it's now about navigating my mind into a different space and continuing to push forward even in spite of all the challenges. Another thing I want to share with you about what I'm leaving behind in 2020 is small thinking. Now, we are all guilty of having times where we have small thinking. That is thinking, well, I can't do this because I don't have that, or I can't be as successful as this person because blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I'm trying to do this year is to just continue to have courage, continue to think outside the box, continue to, act upon my ideas and not think about why my ideas might not work, or thinking I'm not this type of person so it won't work for me. I've decided to banish that type of thinking because it's not helpful. If I continue like I did at parts last year of indulging in small thinking, how am I going to live the empowered life? I've been living the empowered life and doing everything that the empowered life entails, gaining more knowledge, taking risks, having courage, building my self-esteem, confidence, acting on ideas, doing all these different things. If I continue to live the empowered life, how is small thinking going to affect that? And believe it or not, small thinking does. When we limit ourselves by our circumstances, when we limit ourselves by thinking that certain things could never happen for us, or certain things we can never have, or, we'll never be able to get to a certain place, it is really damaging. So for me, I'm removing small thinking. I'm thinking big. I'm thinking with expectancy. I'm thinking, this could happen for me. If it's God's will, it will happen for me. If it's meant to be for me, it's meant to be for me. And just reminding myself of thinking big and dreaming big and flying high by looking at my vision board that I've had on my wall for a few years now, reminding myself of these things. And I shared a quote quite a while ago on my Instagram page. Follow me at Yumi Empowerment on Instagram if you're on Instagram. You have to dream big, you have to aim big, you have to imagine beyond your expectations. And it may seem crazy to other people. Maybe you're surrounded by small thinking people, but nevertheless, don't let people like that deter you from dreaming big and thinking big. So that is something I'm just going to leave behind. And I think that, if I'm being honest, the coronavirus pandemic had affected my thinking in some ways, but in other ways, I can see that, I did try and break out of that small thinking by taking risks to do new things. Another thing I'm leaving behind in 2020 is procrastination. Oh my gosh, last year, especially the first quarter of the year, my procrastination was quite bad. As a matter of fact, when the pandemic hit in March, it didn't get any better until about May last year. I don't know, I felt like I was a bit discouraged. I didn't feel that motivated, but it was so bad that I had to buy a procrastinator's planner, and I'll leave a link to a review of this planner at the top of this one. But I had to buy this because my mind really just felt like it had a clamp on it. I really just felt overwhelmed. I felt stuck. I had things that I needed to do, needed to develop, but for some reason I just couldn't get it started. But this planner was really fantastic in helping me to just get on track, just breaking up those bite-sized tasks and just doing them day by day. This was really helpful to me, and I used it for like half of the year, and it's not dated, and it's not got number dates or day dates on it. You put them in yourself, so I can always come back and use this again if I ever get stuck. But once I started to focus a bit more, use my procrastination planner and just break up tasks into small, manageable, easy steps, I found I was able to work through that procrastination. You know, I stopped putting off tomorrow what I could do today. And I think one of the things I've taken forward into this year from learning from procrastination is to just make things manageable for myself. Understanding that, you know, there are different seasons where one season you can do lots of things, and in other seasons maybe not so much, and getting into that rhythm and understanding that rhythm about myself. Last year was the first year I wasn't doing 10, 12 tasks a day and getting them done, but then just having like 1 or 2 or 3 things a day that were manageable, or even if it was one thing a day that was a huge task, and getting it done helped me to push through that procrastination. And it felt good to be able to complete things. If I'm being honest with myself, I think that I'm probably being a little bit too hard on myself, because, you know, I did go on the rest of the year to, you know, finish an online course. It was 250 hours worth of work. I launched a podcast. I finished my 3rd book, the first of a different niche. You know, I did amazing things, but my beginning of the year didn't start like that. It really started with little things that I could complete. Going forward into 2021, I'm not looking to procrastinate. I'm looking to just do what I can each day and complete things. Another thing I want to share with you that I'm leaving behind in 2020 is bad eating habits. 2020 for me, eating habits was not good. I spent a lot of time comfort eating, when I wasn't feeling too great emotionally, eating all the wrong foods. The main things that I noticed about my eating habits was the snacking. And last year I was the heaviest I had been since 2018, which for me is a big deal. And I know some people might look on this video and think, oh, what weight? But you know, when you're carrying it yourself, you do feel it. Another thing that fed into my weight gain as well, besides the wrong eating habits, was not being able to do as much exercise as I wanted to, especially towards the last part of the year, because I have sciatic back pain and that was quite painful at times. But you know, I still try to empower myself through it by going for like long 1.5 hour walks some days, and doing stretches and things like that. But I'm eradicating the bad eating habits in 2021. I now know what kind of things trigger me to eat the wrong foods and to snack. And you know, snacking felt so good, you know, eating all the lovely foods that I was eating. And nobody's saying there is anything wrong with eating nice things in moderation. But having snacks every day, especially the wrong types of snacks, is not healthy, it's not good. So I'm going to be leaving behind those bad eating habits in 2020. And the worst thing about it, even with my intermittent fasting that I've been doing for over 9 months, I was still putting on weight because I was eating in my eating window the wrong foods, you know, the sugary donuts and the crisps and things like that. Going forward, I'm still doing intermittent fasting, but I'm eating the right foods. And I will have a day a week, which I used to have, where I have a cheat day. I eat what I want and I enjoy it without feeling guilty. But yeah, you know, it's kind of weird how when you're feeling down and stuff, how the first thing you do is reach for the crisps and the sweets, and you know, really get enjoyment out of the comfort eating, you know, because it is quite comforting, but it pays a price at some point, you know, in your weight. So I'm not going to take that forward going into 2021. But that is just my little list really of things that I'm going to leave behind in 2020. Let me know in the comments what things that you're going to leave behind. Last year for a lot of us, you know, it was quite difficult. But you know, this is a fresh year, a new year to start again. And as I said, even through challenging and hard circumstances, we are about living the empowered life. How can we get through it? How can we move past it? And you know, continue on to focus on the things that we are trying to achieve for our life. So that is it for my video. I see you on the next video. Please check out the podcast. I've left links at the top of this video. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe to the channel.